Hi, it's Katie Arwood for MCC Reads and OneBook1County.com, and today I'm joined by my friends from libraries around the county to talk about Running with Sherman.
Good morning. My name is Sherman Horrocks. I'm from Richland Township Library in Vestaburg, Michigan.
And I'm Patty Rockefeller from White Pine District Library in Stanton, Michigan.
Hi, I'm Maddie Cook from Flat River Community Library in Greenville.
Hello, I'm Beth O'Grady from Carson City Public Library in Carson City and Crystal Community Library in Crystal.
Well, it's great to have all of my library girlfriends here. That's wonderful. So let's get started talking about Running with Sherman. And I know there are a few people who really loved it. Patty, what did you love about this book?
Okay, I'm glad you asked. This was my favorite of the two books that we read this summer for this project, and I loved it for so many reasons. It made me laugh, it made me cry, and I love any animal story. I'm really fond of animals, and I also, it inspired me. I felt like I needed to get up and go run. I don't really like to run, but at least exercise or something. The other thing about it is just the care that they took with these damaged animals. I call them damaged. They were, pretty hurt. And just what they did for them, I thought that was inspiring too. But it inspired me. I had other things to say about it, but I'll think about that as Maddie tells why she loved it, but I love this book.
Well, I think that I loved it for the same reasons that you did. It was such, especially during this time, I thought it was the perfect read for what we've been going through the last couple of months. You start off, you're introduced to Sherman, and he is a donkey that lives in just terrible conditions on a farm with a hoarder, and he gets rescued by Chris and his family, and he is really hesitant to make progress. He's really hesitant to make change, but with a lot of care and with some love, they finally get Sherman up and running, and they compete in this world championship burro race. Who even knew that was a thing? I know.
I don't want to do it, but
I don't either.
I know, it's interesting.
I'm amazed. They must be so strong. Like
Yeah.
the pictures of them with their muscles trying to wrangle the donkeys, but just such a beautiful story. I love stories about animals, and just love donkeys, and I felt the same way. So inspired.
And they saved the donkey in a sense, but the donkey also saved several people in this
Yes.
story. And I don't want to tell everything in case you haven't read it yet. You should. But, the people that were also damaged in a sense, they didn't know how to find their way, and by either interacting with Sherman or working with him, they found a way to be part of society.
So do you think that's why animal books resonate with us? We're able to maybe transfer some of our feelings onto animals or thoughts, or what is it about an animal story that touches almost everyone?
Everybody has interactions with animals, either
Yeah.
positive or negative. And I also was thinking about what you said about during this time with COVID going on, animals, they're not living a different life right now. They're not necessarily in quarantine. They're not doing anything different. They're just there to love you. I mean, my dog, you get home, he doesn't care where I've been or if I have a mask on. She just wants to come up and give you some lovins.
Yeah.
I think that my favorite part of the book was the human-animal connection, and I wonder, there's for every one thing humans know, is there a million things we don't know?
Mm-hmm.
And so there could be so much more about animals that we don't know. We're here for each other on this earth, I believe, and so we get something from animals, a love, or it's like an aura that you can feel from animals sometimes. You know how your dog can sense when you're frightened or sad or happy, and just reacts to that instantly. And all of the donkeys in this book reminded me of dogs.
Yeah,
They
were pets.
Horses and dogs, and you can equate donkeys in there as well. They are the same on the intelligence level, so
Okay.
that's probably why. I have my two mini horses and my dogs, they're the same pack, I think.
Well, and that's interesting in here that the donkey was definitely in a pack with the other
Yes.
farm animals. I mean, that wasn't that goat. What was that goat's name?
Oh my gosh, what was it?
I don't know. I had a
Yeah,
funny.
Chili was one of the goats.
Yeah.
But the one that he originally bonded with, that he followed around. I don't know.
But there's definitely a healing bond between humans and animals.
Right.
Lawrence.
And they know
Lawrence,
when,
yes.
the animal
Lawrence.
knows when you're down.
Mhm.
They do.
Mhm.
Yep.
And it also reinforces the importance of companionship. One thing I did know about donkeys is if you have one, you need to have two. And probably horses also.
They're a herd
They
animal.
need that
Yeah.
companionship and
Oh.
friendship every day.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Okay, so we talked about how great the donkey made us feel, and I certainly agree with that. Let's talk about books or stories where humans overcome things, because those are also very popular reads and are uplifting. I'm thinking of Between a Rock and a Hard Place, about the young man who was out hiking. His arm was stuck between two rocks and he had to cut it off to escape and then survive. As horrific as that sounds, it's also very inspiring read about somebody's insides, their fortitude, their grit, their determination. Do you have any thoughts about those? Because this man, I mean, his family moved out to kind of what we would consider a very rural, out of the way place,
I loved
and
it there.
yeah, I would love it there too.
I wanted to move there.
Yeah, but you do have to survive there and change your life.
And there were so many people in this book that that either got injured, which a lot of it was running with donkeys, but had some kind of injury, or they were fighting depression and
Epilepsy.
yes,
Yeah.
and overcame it in a sense with the help of not just the animals, but because they didn't really know how to interact with other people, but the animals brought the other people to them, and they became friends with those people. And as the author said, you know, this person may have been maybe on an autistic scale, but they were all there as sort of outcasts or not able to fit in as well as they would like, and the animals brought them all together, and they felt very comfortable and at home with each other.
I always love it when I see a picture and it's entitled The Animal Kingdom, and it shows all kinds of different animals together in a circle, and sometimes it has the human in there
Yeah,
too.
the human animal.
Yep.
What I don't understand is how someone can be so mean and spiteful to an animal, like just leaving him in that barn until his feet overgrew the nail and made it crippled. How
And
could
that was the hoarder, and yet he said he loved him, and he did. I mean, when he came to visit the donkey later, they were happy to see the animal feeling. I don't know how he can do that, but he wasn't seeing that. He was just seeing, I have this animal, I have it safe in this little spot.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't good for the animal in any capacity,
Yeah.
but he was just trying to keep it. You know, that's what a
And
hoarder
as
does.
humans, we have a responsibility to give loving care to our pets,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's
not
exactly
to
right.
not to abuse them.
But that person
I
was
think he
also
did not
all
know what he
animals.
was doing.
Yeah, that person
at all.
had an illness. I mean, it would be no different than somebody who collects things. To him, this was his possession, and all those other animals that he kept, he just couldn't give them up, even though he really couldn't take care of them.
So to kind of piggyback on what Sherman said, there are animals that do a lot for us, such as any kind of leader dog or companion animal, those that sniff out bombs
Yeah.
and drugs, or those that sniff out cancer. So what do we owe animals? Do you feel like we have a moral obligation?
I did.
We need to love them, show them respect like we would people.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take them for granted. See that they have plenty of food and water, and that they're kept clean.
And in this last month, the heat, I've barely been concerned about that for animals and whether or not people are thinking about that. You know, I hate to leave my dog, even she's an outdoor dog, but I hate to leave her outside, and I don't. She's not an outdoor dog all the time. Shh,
Well,
don't
I
tell
think back
Craig.
to when I was growing up, you saw a lot, people had dogs on chains outside a lot,
Yeah.
with just a dog house and the dog on the chain. You don't see that so much anymore.
Why is that?
I think because we have learned a little bit more. I don't know if laws have had something to do with it, but I don't think there's a law against keeping a dog outside on a chain.
Mm.
But I won't say how long ago that was, but maybe people's thoughts on our relationship with animals, dogs. I'm just talking about dogs right now, but things have evolved a little bit. Maybe we're discovering, as you mentioned, dogs can sniff out bombs and cancer, and there's so much they can do for human beings, and they can be companions for people who have epilepsy or other illnesses to help protect them. I think we've learned more about animals, and as humans understand animals more, the relationship will probably get better. Not that it's not good right now. I mean, there's people who don't treat animals well, and there are people who do, and that's the way it is in life.
I think that's kind of one of the importance of reading a book like Running with Sherman, is I think we start to understand better when we read a great work of, and I'm going to call that a great work of nonfiction. It may not be what you're teaching in the classroom, but there were a lot of lessons to be learned in that book.
I guess animal stories, it brings me back to, I taught school for 30 years, and when I taught 4th grade, I think it was, early on, or maybe 3rd grade, I don't know. The kids will remember because every year I read Old Yeller to them, and they loved it because they could see that I was a human because I could not read that. It's same with Stone Fox, and I would
Where the
follow-
red fern grows.
cry through the whole end of the book, and they just run and get me Kleenexes and keep going. So, I mean, I think this kind of book, that's why this kind of book resonates with me.
All right, so I'm going to suggest a couple animal books if people haven't read them, and then maybe everybody else could recommend a favorite animal read for our viewers. I would certainly recommend Saving Simon, that's by John Katz, or any of John Katz's books about animals. Saving Simon is a story of an abused, neglected donkey. It is a little harder as far as the emotions go, not as far as the text goes, than Running with Sherman, but the same kind of wonderful, uplifting kind of read. And then I'd also throw out there Thunderdog, and it's the story of a 9/11. It's a 9/11 story about a seeing eye dog whose person is in one of the towers when
Who's
they're
person?
attacked.
I like how you
Yep,
said that.
who's person?
'Cause, you know, we're their people.
We are
We're their people.
we are their people. So what do you think? Anybody else want to throw out a title or two?
I will. Since you mentioned John Katz, and he was on my reading list, A Dog Year by John Katz is hilarious, as well as just a moving book. But also King of the Wind by Marguerite Henry.
All right.
I'll jump in next. In general, I love books about animals, love reading about them. Lately, I've been really into kind of what we were talking about earlier, about learning more about the psychology of animals, the intelligence of animals. I recently read Animal Kind, which I believe was published late last year, early this year. And it's so good. They're animals, not just domesticated animals, but all animals have a much higher level of intelligence and awareness than I think they're given credit for, or that most people recognize. And it's so important as humans that we respect animals, that we protect their habitats, and that we do what we can to make sure that they live happy, peaceful lives.
Well, I would go with The Art of Racing in the Rain. I thought that was a good example, too, of showing that there's a lot more to them than what we know. But I also would go back to, for kids, Stone Fox, and also then Old Yeller.
I love Stone Fox.
I love
That's
Stone
one of my
Fox,
favorite
too.
books.
So is there one that pushes your button, Sherman?
Marley.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I can't remember everything.
That one's an older one, but it was
Yeah.
good.
And a great movie too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And The Art of Racing in the Rain is also a movie.
Is a
with,
movie as
with
well.
an actor I really think is great. Great, I'll use that.
All right. Well, it was wonderful to have you stop by and to discuss running with Sherman.
Thank you,
Thank
Katie.
you.
Thank you.